Padel is largely unknown in the U.S., but it's a sport that's getting a public rollout in Philadelphia. The sport is particularly popular in Spain and takes elements of both tennis and squash. WHYY's Peter Crimmins reports this weekend a pair of temporary public courts will open in Manayunk to demonstrate Padel.
Padel is played on a court with players on opposite sides of a net, so it's kind of like tennis. The court is surrounded by glass walls, so the ball can never go out of bounds, which makes it like squash. The main difference is that this game is not played with a stringed racket, but instead a paddle. It looks like an oversized ping pong paddle. And the surface of the court is AstroTurf, not concrete. So the ball moves slower. Okay. But on the other hand, it can be more lively than tennis because you can play off the walls. I'm playing with a guy named Marcos Del Pilar. He's a pro from Spain, and he's here in Philadelphia to train the trainers.
That is an important thing because we're trying to keep the standards of the sport all over the country. So that is important to set up these standards, the educational standards, the health of the sport in the long term.
Del Pilar works for a new company based in Salt Lake City. It's called Racquet Sports, and its goal is to make Padel the next big thing. For the next 4 months, Del Pilar will be teaching at the Venice Island Recreational Center. That's in Philadelphia's Manayunk neighborhood. 2 courts have been built there on public land to introduce the sport to the public. There's an estimated 30,000 Padel courts around the world, but the president of Racquet Sports, Lee Sponaugle, counts only 65 in the U.S.
This would be the first public facility at a public park in the United States.
One of Sponaugle's partners is the guy who built these courts. His name is Scott Grote of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He says teaching people about Padel starts at the most basic level, how to pronounce the name.
Around the world, it's pronounced paddle. But here in the United States, we have other paddle sports, and it's very confusing. So we decided to make it a little fancy and pronounce it Padel. We invented that.
But let's go over here. Can you say it a little bit in Spanish? It sounds a little sexier. So say the word. Padel. Padel. Kind of sexy. It's European.
Now, tennis, with its less sexy name, is in a bit of an industry slump. The popularity of watching tennis is huge, especially around the U.S. Open, but fewer people are actually playing it. According to a 2018 report by the Tennis Industry Association, participation numbers have been flat for years, and in some ways it's even ticking downward. Sponaugle expects tennis club owners in the region from Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, New York will be scouting these courts in Manayunk in the hopes that Padel will be a shot in the arm.
Because if you bring one more person through your doors at a racket club, once a week, that's one more lesson, one more racket, one more beer.
For the next 4 months, the Venice Island Padel courts will host introductory workshops, pro demonstration games, and open play. Peter Crimmins, WHYY News.